Welcome to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Tuesday, May 18th, 2021, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. Well, it's been a very, very busy day. We know that District Attorney Andrew Womble in the Elizabeth City area in North Carolina, we know that he held a press conference today. And this is regarding the case of Andrew Brown Jr., who was shot and killed by sheriff's deputies April 21st, 2021. Pasquotank County Sheriff's deputies. And, it was a very strange press conference today. And it became a little contentious with some of the journalists who were asking questions, and legitimate questions they were asking. But District Attorney Womble says that the sheriff's deputies were justified in killing Andrew Brown Jr. while trying to serve an arrest warrant. He said they were justified, felony arrest warrant. They're justified in killing him. And he sounded more like a defense attorney for the police officers than the district attorney. Now, family attorney Benjamin Crump says that District Attorney Womble whitewashed the investigation. Said he whitewashed the investigation. The whole thing was very, very strange. And then he showed a few minutes of the video, select footage from body cameras. He showed a few minutes of the video, and then came to this conclusion. And then in the video you see Andrew Brown trying to drive away, but it doesn't appear that he poses a threat to the officers. One officer appears to put his hand on the car, and Andrew Brown turns to go away from him. You had 4 officers who did not fire any shots at Andrew Brown Jr., 3 officers who did. It's a very, very strange case. It appears that the investigation is whitewashed. We do know that the family has only seen about 18 minutes of 2 hours worth of footage. So all this is taking place. So we're going to talk about that some today. One of the attorneys for the family was interviewed on Roland Martin Unfiltered today. Okay. Attorney Harry Daniels. Attorney Harry Daniels was interviewed today on Roland Martin Unfiltered to give more insight into this case. So we're going to share some of that interview with you. On the Readout with Joanne Reed today on MSNBC, Attorney Benjamin Crump was interviewed as well. And he's calling for, there is a federal investigation into this case, okay? There's already a federal investigation, but he's calling for federal charges. So, this is the fact that the family has not been able to see all of the footage, number one, is problematic. And it leads me to believe that the police and the district attorney are trying to cover something up. Leads me to believe that they're trying to cover something up, because if in the video, there were things in the video that actually showed that were exculpatory or absolved the police of any wrongdoing, I think that video would have already been released. Okay, I think that video would have already been released. So we'll talk about that today. Then, speaking of felony charges and wrongdoing, late today we got we got the news from the New York Attorney General's office, Letitia James, who I'll call Queen Letitia. New York State probe of Trump organization is now a criminal investigation, Attorney General's office has said. Reuters.com has this story. We know it was a breaking news story today on NBC News as well. Other outlets are confirming this story with the New York Attorney General's office. Reuters.com has a story about this. And I told you a number of times. See, Donald Trump says he's going to run for president again in 2024. Yeah. You say that now. I told you a number of times. Trump is going to be hit with so many investigations, so many lawsuits. He's going to be hit with indictments. So he can try to run again if he wants to. Okay, it's going to be disastrous. If we look at the reporting here, I'm looking at the reporting from the Washington Post. Investigation of Trump organization now exploring possible criminal conduct, New York Attorney General's office says. Okay. New York Attorney General Letitia James' investigation into the Trump organization is now considered a criminal matter. Attorney General Letitia James' office said Tuesday night, noting that officials with the former president's company were recently apprised of the development. Fabian Levy, a spokesperson for the Attorney General's office, the New York Attorney General's office, said, "We have informed the Trump organization that our investigation into the company is no longer purely civil in nature. We are now actively investigating the Trump organization in a criminal capacity, along with the Manhattan DA's office. We have no additional comment at this time." So, like I said before, see, Trump, he can run again. Oh, it's going to be hilarious, because the first thing people are going to ask is, where are your taxes? First thing people are going to ask is that, okay, so you're going to show your taxes now. Oh, no, I'm still under audit. Well, wait a second. You said you were under audit in 2015. This is 2022. This is 2023, 2024. Wait a second. You've been under audit for 10 years? Okay. Or 8 years? You've been under audit for 8 years? What type of criminal enterprise are you running that you've been under audit for 8 years? You can't. Well, why don't you show your taxes from the 1990s? Oh no, we're under audit. Why don't you show your taxes from the 2000s? 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2006. No, one audit. It's like, wait a second. You said in 2015 you couldn't show your taxes because you were under audit. Now, there's no rule from the IRS that if you're under audit, you can't reveal your taxes. Even Richard Nixon, when he was under audit, revealed his taxes. Now, an audit of his taxes revealed he owed over $400,000 additional dollars. When Richard Nixon said, "I am not a crook," he wasn't talking about Watergate. He was talking about his taxes. Go research that. Richard Nixon, when Richard Nixon said, "I am not a crook," he wasn't talking about Watergate. He was talking about his taxes. Okay. Now, so if Trump runs again for the 2024 presidential election, most likely he will announce, like, in 2023. People are going to say, okay, so you're going to have to reveal your taxes now. Oh, I'm still under audit. Well, you said that in 2015. You've been under audit for 8 years? What type of criminal enterprise are you running? We're about to find out what type of criminal enterprise you're running. He's been running. I'm telling you right now, we're about to find out what type of criminal enterprise he's been running. So this story is breaking. I knew this was coming. I'm telling you, I knew this was coming. The Attorney General's notification to the Trump organization suggested a cooperative relationship has developed between investigators working for Attorney General Letitia James, the state of New York, and Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus R. Vance Jr., whose office has been leading a criminal probe into the company and its officers since 2018, into the Trump organization and its officers since 2018. Both officials are Democrats. A person familiar with the matter who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss an ongoing investigation, said the district attorney was not specifically mentioned in Attorney General Letitia James' letter to Trump's company. Okay, the district attorney was not specifically mentioned in New York Attorney General Letitia James' letter to the Trump company. The Attorney General's decision appears to have increased the legal risk that former President Benedict Donald now faces in New York. No wonder he left New York and went to Florida, where the paralleled investigations run by Attorney General Letitia James and Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus R. Vance had already delved more deeply into Trump's Byzantine finances than any law enforcement authorities ever had. Read the rest of this from Washington Post. You're going to see this. All the outlets going to report on this. This is a huge story here. I knew this was coming. You can only last so long. The truth is about to come out. I think you're going to find out. But well, let me put it to you like this. There have been allegations. Regarding money laundering when it comes to real estate deals. I think you're going to find out whether or not this is true or not. Okay. So stay tuned. So he can run again if he wants to in 2024. He's going to be running from the law also. He can run for president, but he's going to be running from the law at the same time. All right. So then also on today's show, you have seen stories about states that have Republican governors. We are now at about 21 Republican governors who have signed bills into law or are about to sign bills into law that punish poor people and are putting an early end to the additional $300 a week in federal unemployment insurance. Okay. And their argument is, well, the people are making more money from unemployment. They're too lazy to go work. They don't want to go work. So we're going to cut off this unemployment. The pandemic's still going on. So we're going to cut off this unemployment. We're not going to work to pass laws to raise the federal minimum wage or raise the minimum wage in the state to pay higher wages. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to cut off federal unemployment at $300 a week, which was $600 a week early in the pandemic. We're going to cut that off to force people to go back to work. Now, we're not going to do things to make childcare affordable. We're not going to do things to make sure people have childcare so, women can go back to work, or in some cases, fathers can go back to work. We're not going to deal with human infrastructure. We're just going to cut off federal unemployment insurance. We're going to opt out of that, $300 a week. Okay. People are not getting rich on unemployment insurance unless they're committing crimes. Okay. Now, you have some people who are fraudulently doing stuff like this. Okay. You have some people who are fraudulently doing things. Okay. And some of them, people of means. They may have connections to the Trump organization, what have you. Who knows? But you have at least 21 states. Forbes.com has an article about this. It was one a few days ago from NBC News that I saw. It was 17. It was 17 states a few days ago. Now it's at least 21 states. But Forbes.com has an article here. At least 21 states dropping $300 a week federal unemployment benefits. Okay. At least 21 states, all with Republican governors. Okay. Elections have consequences. At least 21 states, all with Republican governors, are set to stop participating in the federal unemployment supplemental government in the federal government supplemental unemployment benefits program, which provides an extra $300 a week to the jobless, as many Republican officials are claiming the payments disincentivize workers to get back on the job. Now, what I find interesting is these same Republicans, many of them defended Donald Trump. A lot of them are perpetuating the big lie that the election was rampant with voter fraud or widespread voter fraud. They're not talking about, yesterday on our show, we talked about the 3 cases of voter fraud out of Pennsylvania. And in all 3 cases, the people voted fraudulently for Donald Trump. You had one guy who's dead. He cast a vote for his dead mother for Donald Trump. Okay. You had another guy who allegedly killed his wife and cast a vote for his dead wife for Donald Trump. Okay, they don't want to deal with that. I think that was the dead wife. I think that was in Colorado, the dead wife. Okay, they don't want to talk about that. But instead of talking about raising wages, because if people are getting an extra $300 a week, and your argument is they don't want to go back to work because they're getting an extra $300 a week, wouldn't it make sense to raise wages so people go back to work? Doesn't that mean that they're not making enough money? I mean, to me, that's like the logical thing. Doesn't that mean they're not making enough money? So why, when you focus on raising wages to a livable wage? So we'll discuss this as well on the Read Out with Joanne Reed a few days ago. She talked about this also. This is an example of how elections are consequences. This is Texas Governor Greg Abbott, okay, who announces the reopening of more Texas businesses during COVID-19. We see in Missouri, Iowa, Mississippi, and Alaska all plan to drop benefits on June 12th, which is the earliest date states are allowed to leave the program. All right. This is an example of how elections have consequences. So we'll deal with all this on the other side of the break. List to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Okay, we have TC, we have Josiah. Stand by, everybody. All right, who still needs to register for the online course that I teach on Saturdays? 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, understand the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Stand by, back from break in 3 minutes. How's everybody doing? Okay, stand by, everybody. Here's the article from Reuters dealing with the Trump organization being investigated. Now it's a criminal investigation. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, the African History Network show. $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App. Then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Stand by. Back from break in 1 minute.
10, the Superstation, Detroit's only African-American talk radio.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. Tuesday, May 18th, 2021, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Also on today's show, May 17th, 1875, the first Kentucky Derby was ran. You know, I did a show back May 2nd dealing with the history of African American jockeys and how we used to dominate horse racing. The first Kentucky Derby was ran May 17th, 1875, and it was won by a 19-year-old African American man named Oliver Lewis. Okay, so May 17th was the anniversary of Oliver Lewis winning the first Kentucky Derby. So we'll talk a little bit about Oliver Lewis today and African American jockeys also. All right. Be sure to register for the online course that I teach on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa. Understand the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We deal with ancient Africa, ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, the Nile Valley region of Africa. We deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors, and what they take into Europe. They take teachings from ancient Africa into Europe. This brings Europe out of the Dark Ages. We posted the link here. You can register also if you go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Right on the homepage, you see the information for the radio show, and you can click here to listen to audio podcasts of our shows also. When you scroll down, it has information for the online course. Click here to register here. It takes you to the next page, and click on enroll, and you can start watching the content. The class is regularly $130. It's on sale $80. We do the classes live. You can join us live in class online, and then all the sessions are recorded, so you can go back and watch them over and over again. All the sessions are archived. So as soon as you register, you can watch the class from this past Saturday. Also, I taught the class in February and March of 2021. We kicked it off in February for African American History Month, so you can go watch those sessions as well. And the next class is Saturday, May 22nd. Saturday, May 22nd, 12 noon. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch from around the world. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. All right. Now, also, we know that May 31st and June 1st is the 100th anniversary of the massacre, the Tulsa Race Massacre. Okay. I'll be teaching an online class. I think it's going to be June 1st. June 1st, probably 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. June 1st is a Tuesday. I'll teach an online class dealing with the history of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay, so you'll hear more information about that. We'll have that information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. I want to jump into this first story here dealing with Andrew Brown. Okay, it's a very it's a crazy story, and the more information that comes out, the more questions we have. All right, the more information comes out, the more questions we have. So, District Attorney Andrew Womble today held a bizarre press conference, and he stated that North Carolina sheriff's deputies there in Pasquotank County, the sheriff's deputies were justified in fatally shooting Andrew Brown Jr. April 21st, 2021. During an attempted arrest, and no charges will be filed against law enforcement. District Attorney Andrew Womble sounded more like a defense attorney for the attorneys. Okay, now this incident took place in Elizabeth City. Okay, Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and the sheriff's deputies were serving a warrant for Andrew Brown Jr.'s arrest on felony drug charges. Okay, now District Attorney Andrew Womble said Brown's shooting death, quote, while tragic, was justified due to his actions. He said the shooting death, while tragic, was justified due to his actions. So it almost sounds like District Attorney Womble is saying that Andrew Brown caused his own death. it almost sounds like he's saying is Andrew Brown's fault that he's dead, which is very similar to what the defense attorney for Derek Chauvin was saying about George Floyd. He was like, it's George Floyd's fault that George Floyd is dead because he was a drug addict. He was a drug addict and he had an enlarged heart, and he was a big guy, and Derek Chauvin was intimidated by it. Oh, it's his fault that he's dead. It almost sounds like that's what he's saying. NBC News has a story. North Carolina sheriff's deputies, quote unquote, justified in fatally shooting Andrew Brown Jr., DA says. The 42-year-old black man was fatally shot by Pasquotank County Sheriff's deputies on April 21st while in his car during an attempted arrest. So now, District Attorney Womble said no officers. Let me scroll down here just a second. He said no officers will be criminally charged. No officers will be criminally charged. The officers' actions were consistent with their training and fully supported under law. But that's not what attorneys for the family are saying, especially Attorney Harry Daniels, who was interviewed by Roland Martin today. So I want to go to clip number one. We're going to go to clip one, Shakita. This is from NBC Nightly News. Prosecutor says fatal shooting of Andrew Brown Jr. Justified. Let's go to clip one. Take it off mute. Stop.
After weeks of silence on the Andrew Brown Jr. investigation,
Mr. Brown's death, while tragic, was justified.
District Attorney Andrew Womble defending deputies' decision to shoot Brown and declining to press charges, saying Brown was a threat to their safety and the public, his vehicle a deadly weapon.
The officers who used deadly force on Andrew Brown Jr. did so reasonably and only when a violent felon used a deadly weapon to place their lives in danger.
The DA showing a portion of the publicly withheld body camera footage. The 44-second interaction shows uniformed deputies arriving in a marked vehicle at Brown's home to serve search and arrest warrants for drugs. Brown, seated in his car, is quickly surrounded and told to exit the vehicle. One deputy attempts to open Brown's door and is nearly pulled off his feet as Brown reverses his car. Brown then drives forward, forcing another deputy to jump out of the way. Then a first shot is fired through the front windshield. Officers firing several more shots from the side and rear. Brown attempts to flee, crossing a vacant lot, then crashing into a nearby tree. The district attorney noting drugs were later found in the car. The Brown family calls the outcome a slap in the face.
The family is going to explore all possible legal remedies, but we still want the Department of Justice, and we have some hope that they will intervene.
The sheriff confirms the 3 deputies who fired their weapons in the shooting will keep their jobs, but be disciplined and retrained. Meanwhile, in the community, people take to the streets again to demand justice.
Okay, that's from NBC Nightly News, May 18th, 2021. So when you watch the video, and we're going to post a link here to this article from NBC News. They have the video clips here that you can see. When there's a point where Andrew Brown Jr. is driving away, he swerves. There's a sheriff's deputy that kind of like puts his hand on the car or something. He swerves, and it appears he's trying to get away. It doesn't look like he's trying to hit the sheriff's deputy. It looks like he's trying to get away. Now he's on grass. The car's on grass. District Attorney Womble said if he was on pavement, he would have hit the officer, something like that. And it seems like he used this hypothetical because he was questioned. District Attorney Womble was questioned about this by one of the journalists at the press conference. And it appears he used this hypothetical of if he had been on concrete or if he had been on pavement, he would have hit the officer. But he wasn't on pavement, he was on grass. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. We're going to go to clip 2, Shakita, from Roland Martin Unfiltered, May 18th, 2021. Roland spoke with Harry Daniels. Harry Daniels is one of the family attorneys for the Brown family. And Harry Daniels gave more insight into the press conference today, but previous interactions also with District Attorney Womble. Let's go to clip 2.
Again, DA Andrew Womble claimed that because Brown moved the vehicle, that put the lives of the sheriff's deputies in, well, he claims it put them as a threat. Joining us right now is Harry Daniels, one of the attorneys for the Andrew Brown Jr. family. So they fought the release of this all of this time. You heard the DA claim that the officers' lives were put in jeopardy. He initially said in the first court hearing that the car was moving towards the officers. In that video there, you see Brown back up. You don't see him hitting one of the officers. What do you make of what Andrew Womble said today?
Roland, Andrew Womble, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, is that he has no integrity. He should not be presiding and making any decision as relates to this case should be prosecuted or not. He is intertwined with those officers. He worked with those officers on a daily basis. He is basically put in a position to make a determination as whether his own people violate the law. So in simple put, he is presented with the job of having to prosecute his own prosecuting officers in Pasquotank County. The reason why I say he has no integrity, he mentioned that the reason why he did not call the family and give them heads up in his decision, because a conference or meeting he had with the attorneys before, it was contentious. That's absolutely not the case. That's 100% a lie. In fact, I have communication after that meeting with Mr. Womble and extensive long telephone conversations with Mr. Womble. He chose not to call his family, call the Brown family, because he knew that he was going to have to tell them something that's inconsistent on the video.
So he had this news conference. So just to be clear, he had this news conference today, gave the family no heads up, just out of the blue. He's announcing no charges.
That's correct. That's correct. His position was that it was a heated, contentious relationship between the attorneys. When we first met, I was the attorney that met with him. Miss Laster was the attorney who met with him. We shook hands and we said we're going to try to work together to get to the bottom of it.
Hey, pause it right there,
called
Shakita.
my telephone. We had a long conversation after the fact. So his position there is an absolute lie. I'm not even going to say it's a mistaken belief. It's a lie. I have a telephone communication, text message to prove that he's lying, and I'm standing by it. So that tells me the type of character we're dealing with. So was we shocked that he didn't bring charges? No. He basically set it up in court. What he said before, he wasn't, that the vehicle went forward then, and not until only then shots were fired. The video ejected evidence is crystal clear in this case. I mean, it's so disheartening that a man can be killed in the manner he did, and the DA just took an oath to do his duty, completely dereliction thereof.
Okay, back it up about a minute or two. Back it up about a minute or two. What Attorney Harry Daniels was saying is that Andrew Brown's family was not given a heads up today by District Attorney Womble about his decision not to file charges against the sheriff's deputies. They were not given a heads up before the press conference took place. Okay. All right. Stand by. This is what Attorney Harry Daniels, who is an attorney for the Brown, one of the attorneys for the Brown family. This is what he's saying. Okay. The Brown family was not given a heads up by District Attorney Andrew Womble that he was not going to press charges against the sheriff's deputies. Okay, let's go back to this clip.
Andrew Womble, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, is that he has no integrity. And he should not be presiding and making any decision as relates to if this case should be prosecuted or not. He is intertwined with those officers. He worked with those officers on a daily basis. He is basically put in a position to make a determination as whether his own people violate the law. So in simple put, he is presented with the job of having to prosecute his own prosecuting officers in Pasquotank County. The reason why I say he has no integrity, he mentioned that the reason why he did not call the family and give them heads up in his decision because a conference or meeting he had with the attorneys before it was contentious. That's absolutely not the case. That's 100% a lie. In fact, I have communication after that meeting with Mr. Womble and extensive long telephone conversations with Mr. Womble. He chose not to call the Brown family because he knew that he was going to have to tell them something that's inconsistent on the video.
So he had this news conference. So just to be clear, he had this news conference today, gave the family no heads up, just out of the blue. He's announcing no charges.
That's correct. That's correct. His position was that it was a heated, contentious relationship between the attorneys. When we first met, I was the attorney that met with him. Ms. Laster was the attorney who met with him. We shook hands and we said we're going to try to work together to get to the bottom of it. He, in fact, called my telephone. We had a long conversation after the fact. So his position there is an absolute lie. I'm not even going to say it's a mistaken or belief. It's a lie. I have a telephone communication, text message to prove that he's lying, and I'm standing by it. So that tells me the type of character we're dealing with. So were we shocked that he didn't bring charges? No. He basically set it up in court. What he said before, he wasn't, that the vehicle went forward then, and not until only then shots were fired. The video objective evidence is crystal clear in this case. I mean, it's so disheartening that a man can be killed in the manner he did, and the DA just took an oath to do his duty, completely dereliction thereof. And there's nothing that he can say, any law that he can try to quote, or any totality of circumstances, legalese that he can quote to make the American population to believe any otherwise. This was an unjustified killing of Andrew Brown. Unjustified killing.
So what now? So is the only, first of all, he's the DA. He gets to decide whether it goes to the grand jury, if there are any charges, any indictments. So the only hope now is the federal investigation, or tell us. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Roland.
What now? Do we hope that the feds launch an investigation and take it to a grand jury?
Well, the Department of Justice is currently investigating this matter. I'm sure that investigation is deeper or more broad than the surface in which the SBI are investigating matter. So we hope that the Department of Justice, in particular Main Justice, will be moving forward to bring charges, civil rights charges. This is a clear case where civil rights charges should be brought. We can break this video down in many ways of Sunday. We can say, you can say, well, he appears to be moving towards the officers, putting at least one officer to say, well, he was threatening with the vehicle. Well, that officer gets out the way, okay? And Mr. Brown drives by. Roland, what's the justification now? Mm-hmm. To unload as a firing squad in this man's vehicle, ultimately striking and killing him. But it's our contention that he was never a threat to the officers. As you can see, he backed up. If it was a threat to him, he could have went towards him. He backed up, turned his wheel to the left, and it was two officers on his left and the right. He drove between them. One officer touched the vehicle, It's very fast, touches the vehicle, and pushes back. As while the vehicle moving at a very slow pace. No threat whatsoever. Roland, that officer did not shoot his gun. The officer that the DA is talking about was threatened. 3 or 4 other officers who were on scene did not shoot their guns. So when you're talking about an objective, reasonable officer, well, hell, you got 4 objective, reasonable officers who's out on the scene who chose not to shoot and kill the man. But you have 3 that did. 3 that did. So you have a policy in Pasquotank County. They have their own policy, use of force policy. Sponsored 300 Pasquotank County. You avoid shooting to a moving vehicle by all costs unless you are threatened and you have no choice but to shoot into that moving vehicle. One of the reasons is because you don't know who's in the vehicle. It could be children in the vehicle as such, or you could shoot an individual and that person lose control and possibly cause injury or death to an innocent bystander or somebody else. So that's their policy. Their policy specifically says that you try to move out the way. So let's take their policy. The deputy, for argumental purposes, he was in the way, he moved out the way. He followed the policy. You get out the way. You don't shoot in the vehicle, you get out the way. But after he moves out the way, the barrage of fire shots begin. So, violation of own policy. Further violation of own policy that you shoot a suspected felon. It's specifically forbidden in Pasquotank County to do so.
Hey,
forbidden to do so.
Pause it right there. Pause it right there, Shakita. Pause it right there. Back it up about 30 seconds or so, okay? Back it up about 30 seconds. We'll go to the phone lines in just a minute. Okay, so this is family attorney Harry Daniels, one of the attorneys for the Brown family, breaking down the video that District Attorney Andrew Womble showed today at the press conference. And he's also explaining how he said 4 sheriff's deputies who were on the scene did not fire their weapon. 3 of them did. Okay. And he's explaining how the officers who fired their weapons into Andrew Brown's car violated policies of the sheriff's department there. Now, if we go back to this article from NBCnews.com, and then we'll go to the phone lines in just a minute here. It says, Andrew Womble said today, District Attorney Andrew Womble, is talking about, let's see, deputies had wanted to arrest Andrew Brown the night before, but did not. But Andrew Brown did not return to his home in a residential neighborhood in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, which is about 35 miles south of Norfolk, Virginia, according to the prosecutor Andrew Womble. And deputies, in the moments they confronted Andrew Brown, had reason to believe his car could be used as a deadly weapon, District Attorney Andrew Womble said. Quote, the deputies faced both actual and apparent danger as perceived by them on the scene. This apparent threat was reinforced by Brown's dangerous and felonious use of a deadly weapon. As tragic as this incident is with the loss of life, the deputies on scene were nonetheless justified in defending themselves from death or great bodily harm, or great bodily injury, end quote. Now, Brown's family, Andrew Brown's family, said in a statement that District Attorney Andrew Womble did nothing but, quote unquote, whitewash the facts of the case. Official statement from the Brown family said Andrew Brown Jr., his grieving family, and his community deserve answers. Now, and they received anything, the statement goes on to say, and they received anything but from DA Womble's attempt to whitewash this unjustified killing. Quote, to say this shooting was justified, despite the known facts, is both an insult and a slap in the face to Andrew's family, the Elizabeth City community, and to rational people everywhere, end quote. Now, District Attorney Andrew Womble cited case law that grants police wide discretion in using deadly force against a fleeing suspect. Okay, Andrew Womble said today at the press conference, he said, quote, once a threat is perceived, and the officers fire the first shot, if the first shot is justified, the last shot is justified until the threat is extinguished. If the first shot is justified, the last shot is justified until the threat is extinguished. But Duke University School of Law professor Jim Coleman challenged District Attorney Andrew Womble's claim that deputies were being threatened when Andrew Brown was fatally shot in the back of the head. Duke University Law School professor Jim Coleman said, but this question is, when is that threat extinguished? But the question is, when is that threat extinguished? And Coleman teaches criminal law. He said, quote, it's very clear what was going on. He was trying to escape. He was not trying to ram his car into officers. And then I went and watched the videos a number of times today. Okay. And he had the opportunity to run the officers over if he wanted to. It doesn't appear he's trying to harm the officers. It appears he's trying to get away. Throughout the lengthy presentation, District Attorney Andrew Womble says Sheriff Sergeant Joe Lunsford could have been killed as Brown narrowly missed him early in the confrontation. Brown could have also been a threat to other law enforcement officers parked in two unmarked cars a short distance away. Now, this is the first time we heard about officers parked in two unmarked cars a short distance away. But Duke University Law School professor Jim Coleman insisted that once Andrew Brown missed Sergeant Lunsford, the suspect did not need to be killed. And this is what Attorney Harry Daniels is saying. This is what Attorney Daniels is saying. He's saying, well, wait a second. Once that officer backed away, Attorney Harry Daniels, once that officer backed away, now what's the threat? Once that officer backed away from Andrew Brown's car, now what's the threat? Duke University Law School professor Jim Coleman said the people firing from the side and behind, they were never in danger. The idea that they were doing this to protect the guy whose hand was on the car, that could not have been their thinking. It happened so fast, and he had cleared the car by then. Okay. Let's go quickly to the phone lines. Let's go to Williams, line 1. Hey, Williams, welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for holding. Tell us where you're calling from, Williams.
Yeah, I'm calling from Detroit. Yeah, I just wanted to give some insight to this. Now, what I'm about to say, I'll tell you why I'm going to say this, but I sense that the reason why he was killed was not because of the incident with that car. I felt he was killed because he was a drug dealer. Okay, and I say it because when I listened to that announcement that prosecutor, that DA made, he strongly expressed the drug investigation and what Mr. Brown was allegedly selling, and he really stressed that he's selling fentanyl. Now, I know what I'm about to say next is a little deep. What I think could have possibly happened, somebody's relative or loved one, whatever, an official there, probably got poisoned. Someone's loved one probably could have bought dope from him and got poisoned and died. So this is a retaliation. And so they got to come up with something to justify killing this guy. Now, that's just an opinion. That's something I think. All that stuff came to me after I was listening to this guy talk. I said, wait a minute. They didn't kill him because he's supposed to came with him with a car. They killed him because he was a drug dealer.
Okay.
And they was not, so they was angry with him.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. You know.
Okay. All right, Williams. Thanks for calling, man. Keep listening and call back tomorrow night.
All right.
Okay. Keep listening. Thanks. I want to go. We're going to go to clip 3, Shakita. We're going to squeeze clip 3 in. Attorney Benjamin Crump was on the Readout today with Joanne Reed. And he said he whitewashed the investigation. Let's go to clip 3, Shakita.
The family, the attorneys, I'm assuming including yourself, had asked Attorney Womble to recuse himself, sending a letter saying that he needed to, that the conflict is well defined with the sheriff's office. What does that mean, well defined with the sheriff's office, and why did you want him recused?
Well, because obviously this is a local district attorney who works on a systematic and regular basis with the local sheriff's department. In fact, they're housed in the same building together. And we thought to remove any hint of impropriety, Joy, that he should recuse himself so there wouldn't be exactly what we saw today, this press conference where he whitewashed the investigation to justify this unjustifiable killing of yet another black man who's going away from the police, not posing a threat, but yet they shoot him in the back of his brain. And it will not be swept under the rug. We are demanding that they release all the body cam video in the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigations report, because if it's justified, then what do they have to hide? And we want the Department of Justice, Merrick Garland, to intervene immediately, because we will not let this be swept under the rug.
Okay, that's from May 18th, 2021, the Readout, MSNBC, Joanne Reed. All right, if you'd like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. We're here 6 days a week. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. When you do it through Cash App, be sure to type in $ the AHN Show, SHOW, $ the AHN Show, SHOW. Be sure you can still register for the online course that I teach on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa. Understand the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, we do thousands of years of history. We do the classes live. All the sessions are recorded also. They're archived, so you can go back and watch them over and over again. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com is right on the homepage. We'll post a link here as well. Those watching us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting a few more minutes. We're out of time here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF. Right now, it's correct your own behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. All right, stand by. Stand by, everybody. Okay, let's continue. I want to go back to the clip from Roland Martin Unfiltered. It's an excellent interview with attorney Harry Daniels. Okay. And this is attorney Harry Daniels, one of the attorneys for the Brown family, is giving more insight into what transpired previously with District Attorney Womble. Okay. What transpired previously with District Attorney Womble. And, you know, it's a conflict of interest. It was a conflict of interest. And as I said before, I watched the press conference today. I went back and watched clips of it. I went back and watched the videos that were shown today of the actual killing. And I'm like, the District Attorney Womble sounded more like a defense attorney for the officers. Okay, so I want to go back to this clip here from Roland Martin Unfiltered as well. Well, how's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in as well. We're Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time, and Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the African History Network show. Follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. Turn on notifications so you know when we go live. Follow me on my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. All right, let's go back to, let's see here. Let's go back to the, I want to go back to this interview with attorney Harry Daniels. All right, just a second. Okay, here we go.
That we believe are the relevant parts, but I think there's other relevant parts to this video.
Let me back it up a little bit here.
Cameras to point their cameras at the screen. He won't release the video.
Well, the court ordered, the court has to release the video. In essence, by showing the video, he released a portion of the video because obviously media recorded the screen, obviously. However, at this point, there's no question about the release of the video because he says he's not going to press charges. So there's no real reason for the video not to release. In fact, the public have seen a significant portion of the video that we believe are the relevant parts, but I think there's other relevant parts to this video. For example, I believe one of the main reasons why they don't want the entire video released because you may have incriminating statements on the video by one officer. Hey, man, why did you shoot? Well, I didn't shoot. Or I thought that he had a gun. Or I thought this. Incriminating statements. This district attorney, Roland, sounded like a damn defense attorney. He was poised in position at all costs to defend the acts of these officers. He was not an ambassador of justice. He was an obstructor of justice. That's what he did. And when the reporters started questioning him, challenging him based on what they saw and based on what he concluded, he didn't want to answer any questions anymore. He wanted to deflect. He wanted to talk about something else. That is the exact reason why it should have been an independent prosecutor appointed on this case for transparency and a neutral decision maker. Let's be very mindful. The SBI did not conclude that the shooting was unjustified. They make no conclusions. The DA made the conclusions, not the SBI.
What was the family's reaction to one being surprised by this news conference and hearing what he had to say?
Well, they really was shocked and surprised that he was not going to bring charges. You know, I mean, they kind of knew that based on his unwillingness to speak with them early on, unwillingness to communicate with the attorneys to work in tandem early on, his unwillingness that, and his statements that he made in court, be mindful that his Mr. Brown's 92-year-old grandmother, a lot of his aunts and uncles was in court when the DA made the position that we believe that the shooting took place once Mr. Brown moved forward. So he already prefaced it as though he was going to call the shooting justified. So there was no shock. But what is downright disgraceful is that this man did not have the decency to call this family and let the family see the video, and tell the family what's his decision. 2016, the district attorneys of North Carolina came up with a standard practice committee. And inside their standard practice committee, that was one of the things that they determined you should do. That even if you're not going to bring charges, let the family know, get the family opportunity to come in and explain to them. Any other use of force cases, I've been a part of the lawyer and the DA till decided not to bring charges, they would at least afford the family with the opportunity. He didn't. He has his own motives, agendas. I don't know. He is running for a Superior Court judge. Maybe he don't want to piss off his potential voters or constituents in that particular county, that particular circuit that he's in. But one thing I will tell you, that what he gave today and his reasoning was subjectively his reasoning, because the law that he applied, the law he's used, was not correct. He stated that when Mr. Brown, if he refused to obey to the officer's command and stay in the vehicle, he believed that he's using the vehicle as a weapon. Well, what if Mr. Brown just decides to stay in the car? Is he using the vehicle as a weapon? No. This district attorney believes that. So that shows his incompetency. And he's incapable to preside, to make any decisions, and his lack of integrity that I personally know he has.
This is certainly sad. It was expected by his actions. Right. And I got to ask you this here. I got to get your thoughts just on this, the comment that he made during this whole deal, where he literally talked about how he didn't have to deal with attorneys because they weren't under the bar in North Carolina. I mean, how arrogant is that?
Well, that's you know, and some folk don't realize that, you know, it's some constitutional rights and some things in it a long time ago. But nevertheless, what I will tell you is that Rule 5.5 of the North Carolina Rules Professional Responsibility Unauthorized Practice of Law is very clear that if an attorney, myself, Ben Crump, Bakari Sellers, associate with an attorney in North Carolina, Chantel Lasser, Chance Lidge, and you're not engaging in anything that requires you to come to court and argue before a court, you do not have to file pro hac vice. That is a discussion I had with the county attorney. That is what he did not want to hear. The judge doubled down on it. The county attorney doubled down on it. And the district attorney doubled down on it. What you got is a conspiracy between the judge, the district attorney, and the county attorney, because both of them made the same statement, and it do not make sense. It don't make sense. It is not the law, the rule of law in North Carolina bar.
Okay, I want to back this up with Attorney Harry Daniels just said. We have a picture of Attorney Harry Daniels up here on the screen as well. And I want to remind people that back on April 27th, 2021, it was reported, and I'm looking at the reporting from ABC News affiliate Channel 12 there in the Elizabeth City, North Carolina area. Remember that the FBI opened a civil rights investigation into the shooting of Andrew Brown Jr. This was back about April 27th, 2021 as well. Okay, so you have that investigation going on also. Okay, I want to go back to what Attorney Harry Daniels just said.
Myself, Ben Crump.
Let me back this up here.
He didn't have to deal with attorneys because they weren't under the bar in North Carolina. I mean, how arrogant is that?
Well, that's you know, and some folk don't realize that, you know, it's some constitutional rights and some things in it a long time ago. But nevertheless, what I will tell you is that Rule 5.5 of the North Carolina Rules Professional Responsibility Unauthorized Practice of Law is very clear that if an attorney, myself, Ben Crump, Bakari Sellers, associate with an attorney in North Carolina, Chantel Lasser, Chance Lidge, and you're not engaging in anything that requires you to come to court and argue before a court, you do not have to file pro hac vice. That is a discussion I had with the county attorney. That is what he did not want to hear. The judge doubled down on it. The county attorney doubled down on it. And the district attorney doubled down on it. What you got is a conspiracy between the judge, the district attorney, and the county attorney, because both of them made the same statement, and it do not make sense. It don't make sense. It is not the law, the rule of law in North Carolina bar. So when I use the word conspiracy, I don't know if they talked about it. So I'm not going to make allegations as such, but it's ironic that all three of them said the same exact thing that is not in conformity with North Carolina rules of professional responsibility in the North Carolina bar. That's Rule 5.5 on the authorized practice of law in North Carolina. You can see it, read it for yourself.
Attorney Harry Daniels, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Roland. Appreciate it.
Okay, so that is that's called journalism right there. That's excellent interview, excellent reporting. That's from Roland Martin Unfiltered, May 18th, 2021. Follow Roland on his YouTube channel, Roland S. Martin on YouTube and Roland S. Martin on Facebook. Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. It airs Monday through Friday live, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And he re-airs the shows throughout the day. I'm a panelist on Roland Martin Unfiltered every Friday. So I'll be back on Friday. So look out for me as well. I'm going to post the link here to the full episode, the May 18th, 2021 episode of Roland Martin Unfiltered. We're going to post that clip here, that link here on the thread of the broadcast. So, I mean, this whole thing is strange. It sounds like a cover up. But also, I want to remind people, as I said, the FBI has opened back April 27th. The FBI opened up a civil rights investigation into this case also. So, but the Department of Justice needs to step in, as Attorney Benjamin Crump was saying as well. All right. So let me post this link here. We're going to go to the next story. Check out this article here from ABC Channel 12. This is back from April 27th, 2021. FBI opens civil rights investigation into shooting of Andrew Brown Jr. This is ABC Channel 12, ABC affiliate. The FBI Charlotte field office has opened a federal civil rights investigation into the death of Andrew Brown Jr., African-American man who was killed by Pasquotank County Sheriff's deputies serving a search warrant at his home in Elizabeth City. Statement here says the FBI Charlotte field office has opened a federal civil rights investigation into the police-involved shooting death of Andrew Brown Jr. The official said in a statement, agents will work closely with U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of North Carolina and the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice to determine whether federal laws were violated. And this is an ongoing investigation. We cannot comment further, end quote. Okay. All right. So read the rest of this article here as well. We'll post this link here also. All right. I want to go quickly here to this next story. This is dealing with the unemployment insurance, $300 a month unemployment insurance. You have governors in 21 states now, governors in 21 states. And there's an article here from Forbes.com. Governors in 21 states are going to opt out of the extra $300 a week in federal unemployment insurance because they're claiming that it's making poor people lazy and they don't want to go to work. See, they're not focused on human infrastructure and having child care so people can go to work, things like that. They just want to take away $300 a week in federal unemployment insurance to force people to go back to work. They're not saying old employers should pay more and pay a livable wage. Okay, they're not saying that. At least 21 states dropping $300 a week federal unemployment benefits. This is from May 18th, 2021. Now, these 21 states all have Republican governors, and they are set to stop participating in the federal government supplemental unemployment benefit program, which provides an extra $300 a week to the jobless, as many Republican officials are claiming without evidence, by the way. Okay, they're looking at anecdotes, but without evidence. They're claiming the payments disincentivize workers to get back on the job. Now, Missouri, Iowa, Mississippi, and Alaska all plan to drop the benefits on June 12th. This is an example of how elections have consequences, which is the earliest. June 12th is the earliest date states are allowed to leave the program. Now, Indiana, Alabama, West Virginia, Idaho, North Dakota, and Wyoming are all planning to opt out on June 19th. Texas, Ohio, Georgia, Utah, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and South Dakota will cease payments on June 26th. Montana Governor Greg Gianforte said he would withdraw the state from the program by June 27th, also claiming Montana was being plagued by a labor shortage. Now, Montana will instead offer a one-time $1,200 bonus for returning to work, Governor Gianforte said, with Oklahoma also offering a $1,200 incentive. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster said his state would end federal benefits at the end of June. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee announced the state will stop participating in the federal government's supplemental unemployment benefits program on July 3rd. Okay, this is July 3rd. So this is one of the powers of a governor. So when I hear people think that you just have to vote for president and doesn't matter who's in the state legislature, doesn't matter who's governor, that's not true. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement at the federal level, state, county, and city level. All this matters. Now, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey said his state will stop paying federal benefits on July 10th, but the state will offer a $2,000 return to work bonus, Now, the $300 a week federal payments, which are a reduced version of the $600 a week in federal unemployment insurance that was fought for by Democrats, by the way. Okay, that's why you had that. That was fought for by Democrats. This was earlier in the pandemic. The $300 that you have now, I just want people to understand that $300, that's part of the American Rescue Plan, the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Let's see. So that's from the CARES Act, I should say. That's from the CARES Act, $300. It was $600 a week. It was renegotiated down to $300. Okay. Many Democrats wanted more than $300. Punk ass Joe Manchin of West Virginia, he held out and he wanted $300 a week. Now, why? I don't understand. All the poor white people you have in West Virginia that voted for Joe Manchin, I don't understand this. But anyway, the $300 a week federal payments, which are a reduced version of the $600 weekly benefit authorized last March under the CARES Act, to help the millions of Americans. No, you know what? The $300 renegotiated, that's part of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. The $300, so the $600 was part of the American CARES Act early in the coronavirus pandemic. But the renegotiated $300, that's part of that $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Okay. So let's see, the bill extends federal unemployment insurance programs and an additional $300 boost per week until September 6, 2021. This adds 25 more weeks to 2 federal unemployment programs, the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation and the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. Okay. Let's see here. This is from Time Magazine. It's from time.com. Let's see here. Yeah. New unemployment benefits stimulus signed into law. Payment could be headed your way within weeks. This is April 15th, 2021. The American Rescue Plan provides extended unemployment benefits, including a $300 a week boost per week. Yeah. Okay. Through September 6, 2021. Okay. Yeah, I was correct. So the $300 a week, and we'll post this article here from time.com, Time Magazine. The $300 a week, that's part of the American Rescue Plan. the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. No Republicans voted for the American Rescue Plan. I just want people to understand this. No Republicans, none of the Republicans, there's about 200 plus Republicans in the House of Representatives, none of them voted for this. None of the 50 Republicans in the U.S. Senate voted for the American Rescue Plan either, even though it's helping Republicans that voted for these people. No Republicans in the House of Representatives or the U.S. Senate voted for the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Read this article here from time.com. New unemployment benefits stimulus signed into law. New unemployment benefits stimulus signed into law. Payment could be headed your way within weeks. This is from April 15th, 2021. The American Rescue Plan provides extended unemployment benefits, including $300 a week boost per week, including a $300 boost per week through September 6, 2021. $1,400 stimulus payments for those making up to $75,000 could be received within the next 2 weeks. The plan offers a tax break for the first $10,200 in unemployment benefits received in 2020. Okay. Now the tax break for the first $10,200, that's something that Joe Manchin of West Virginia wanted. Okay. But Democrats had negotiated to get like $400 in unemployment insurance a week, down from $600. Joe Manchin wanted $300 a week instead of $400. All the poor white people you have in West Virginia, it just doesn't make sense. So read this article here. All right, let's go back to the one from Forbes. So now Republican officials have long claimed federal unemployment benefits are too high. They long claim federal unemployment benefits are too high, and more GOP-led states may soon leave the federal program amid reports of employers having trouble finding workers. Maybe if you paid a living wage, maybe you can find more workers. Maybe if you paid a living wage, maybe you can find more workers. And more GOP-led states may soon leave the federal program amid reports of employers having trouble finding workers. Millions of Americans remain unemployed. We're down about 8 million jobs from before the pandemic hitting. We're still down about 8 million jobs. Millions of Americans remain unemployed, but claims of work shortages appear to be largely anecdotal so far. We have flooded the zone with checks that I'm sure everybody loves to get, and also enhanced unemployment, said Senator Moscow Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky. He said this last week. And he said, what I hear from business people, hospitals, educators, everybody across the state all week is, regretfully, it's actually more lucrative for many Kentuckians and Americans to not work than work. Maybe you should raise the minimum wage in Kentucky. Maybe if Kentucky didn't have something called right to work, which drives down wages and attacks unions and attacks unions' ability to collective bargain, maybe you'd have higher wages in Kentucky. Maybe if you didn't have the right to work law in Kentucky that was pushed by Americans for Prosperity, which is a nonprofit organization of the Koch brothers. And the Koch brothers are pushing this initiative to have right to work states, which drive down wages and weakens unions. Maybe if you ain't had that in Kentucky, and maybe if you raise the minimum wage in Kentucky, right? Maybe more people would be anxious to go back to work. But also, maybe people are having trouble finding childcare so they can go back to work, unless you want them to take their children to work with them. Have bring your child to work day like every day. 387 $387. That's how much the average American receives from their state and weekly unemployment payments. Now, I want people to understand. All these senators make $174,000 a year. Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul, lying ass Ted Cruz. I just want people to understand. They're trying to take away $300 a week in federal unemployment insurance from people. But every last one of these senators make $174,000 a year. Okay, I just want people to understand that. Okay, and the extra $300 a week, that's something like $7.50 an hour, what have you. So let's look at this. All right, so $387. That's how much the average American receives from their state and weekly unemployment payments, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, which rises to $687 with the federal boost. Okay, the $387 plus the $300 from the federal government. Based on a 40-hour work week, that means the average unemployed American is getting the equivalent of $17.17 an hour, more than twice the federal minimum wage. They're getting $17.17 an hour. But Republicans don't want to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Federal minimum wage is currently at $7.25 an hour. The Republicans don't want to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. The $300 in federal unemployment insurance each week, plus the $387 that the average American receives in unemployment payments from their state, is $687 a week. That averages out, if you look at a 40-hour work week, $17.17 an hour. Maybe if you raise the minimum wage in these states, especially these Republican states, maybe if you focus on raising the federal minimum wage to a living wage, you'd have more people who are willing to go back to work and risk getting coronavirus. At a news conference earlier this month, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said it was, quote unquote, not clear whether federal unemployment benefits were causing a labor shortage. Because this is just anecdotes. There's no evidence. There's no evidence that people aren't going back to work because they're making more money collecting unemployment insurance. These are just anecdotes that they're just throwing out. But we do know in a lot of these states, they're not paying a living wage. But in any case, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said that won't be a factor for much longer because he expects the federal government will not extend payments past September. So read this article here from Forbes.com, May 17th, 2021. At least 21 states dropping $300 a week federal unemployment benefits. They talked about this on the Readout with Joanne Reed back on May 13th. I want to go to this clip here. Now, back on May 13th, it was 17 states who were going to opt out of the federal unemployment insurance. It was 17. Now it's 21 states. Okay. And 17 states run, well, at the time, 17 states run by governors across the country are using April 2021 sluggish jobs report to argue that people don't want to go back to work because they're getting extra money without evidence, and are putting an early end to the additional $300 per week being given to unemployed Americans. Okay. Let's go to this clip here.
Many governors have decided to pull back on the enhanced federal contribution for unemployment because they say that is hurting people's ability to get workers back to work. Have you considered doing the same?
Yeah, no question about it. That's exactly what's happening in the real world. I don't know if the Biden administration understands that, but later today we'll be putting out an announcement that we're not going to be participating in the federal subsidy any longer.
17 states run by Republican governors have decided to put in.
Oh, let me just back that up. Okay, that was dumbass Brian Kemp of the great state of Georgia. This is another example of how elections have consequences. Okay, this Brian Kemp, who was Secretary of State back in 2018 when he ran for governor against Stacey Abrams, and you had African Americans, some African Americans in Georgia that said they weren't going to vote for Stacey Abrams because she didn't have a black agenda. But your dumb ass let Brian Kemp get in office, and he has an anti-black agenda. You let Brian Kemp get in office, who has an anti-black agenda, and look at what he's doing. Now he's doing this after he signed Senate Bill 202. After he signed Senate Bill 202 to suppress this voter restriction bill to suppress the African American vote and vote to Latinos and things like this. Now he's taking away the federal unemployment insurance. Okay, so yeah, how you like me now? Let's go back to this clip. I warned you back then. People didn't want to listen. It's not always about what someone can do for you. It's also understanding how to block and stop what people are trying to do to you. A policy or bill doesn't have to say black or African American to benefit you. And if you understand how many white people in state legislatures or in the House of Representatives or U.S. Senate got to vote on this stuff, it's better if it doesn't say black or African American. It's better if you can show how it's going to benefit their constituents also, because most of the people that got to vote on this are white. That's understanding strategy. That's understanding why most slaves who ran away at nighttime and not in the daytime. I told you before, Georgia is the state that has the largest Confederate monument in the country. Georgia has Stone Mountain. Stone Mountain is the largest Confederate monument in the country. It's a huge mountain that has on the side of it, carved into Stone Mountain, are the images of General Robert E. Lee, Thomas Stonewall Jackson, and Jefferson Davis. These were all Confederate heroes, traitors to the Union. They committed treason against the Union based upon Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution. They were all slave owners. And Stone Mountain is there right now in Georgia. This is the largest Confederate monument in the country. Read this article from SmithsonianMag.com. What will happen to Stone Mountain, America's largest Confederate monument? The Georgia landmark is a testament to the enduring legacy of white supremacy. You think? I've been to Stone Mountain. I've climbed to the top of Stone Mountain. This is what's on the side of Stone Mountain. These three traitors. All of them slave owners also. Jefferson Davis was the first president of the Confederacy. He was from Mississippi. Stone Mountain Confederate Memorial features General Robert E. Lee, Thomas Stonewall Jackson, and Jefferson Davis, and has stirred controversy. Has stirred up controversy in Georgia for years. This is what's in Georgia right now. And Governor Brian Kemp, Trump-loving Governor Brian Kemp, is the governor of Georgia. And look at what he's doing. Elections have consequences. All right, let's go back to, I want to go back to this clip from the readout with Joanne Reed. Let's go back to this clip.
The Biden administration understands that, but later today we'll be putting out an announcement that we're not going to be participating in the federal subsidy any longer.
17 states run by Republican governors have decided to put an early end to the federal unemployment benefits. An extra $300 per week provided by Congress as part of the COVID stimulus plan. The cuts will impact more than 1 million Americans. The governors are using April's sluggish jobs report to argue that people don't want to go back to work because they're getting that extra money. That's Republican code for poor people are lazy. And they have no proof to back that up. In fact, a study showed that when unemployed Americans were getting double that amount early in the pandemic, the benefits did not discourage people from returning to work. The situation is way more complex than Republicans are making it out to be. Not everyone is currently in a position to be able to work. Women and men both left the workforce equally when the pandemic began. But while nearly all fathers returned to work by November, mothers no improvement, almost certainly due to school closures and a shortage in childcare. 1 year later, 2 million women are still out of the workforce entirely. And Reuters reports that 22% of parents said they were either not working or working less because of disruptions to childcare and in-person schooling. Childcare was already expensive before the pandemic, and for many, it just might not be worth it to work for a minimum wage job and then use that meager paycheck to hand it over to childcare. Take New Hampshire, for example, whose Republican governor announced today that the federal unemployment benefits will end early. New Hampshire's minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, a pittance. And the average cost of childcare for an infant there is more than $1,000 a month, a whopping 92% of what a minimum wage worker would make in a month. New Hampshire's costs are by far the worst of the states getting those benefits. But even in states like Arkansas, with an $11 minimum wage, childcare for an infant costs 1/3 of a monthly salary. That's still a lot when people also have to pay for food and rent and mortgages. And that's just for one kid. President Biden is trying to solve this problem. His American Families Plan, part of his larger infrastructure bill, would cap childcare costs at 7% for medium and low-income families. But Republicans are objecting to that plan, saying, no, it does not fit into their limited definition of infrastructure. Republicans are supposed to be the pro-life party, but they consistently balk at policies that would improve people's lives, even when they're paid for by the federal government, like this unemployment benefit is. So Republican governors like Brian Kemp and Kristi Noem for turning away money that would provide much needed support for your own constituents, you are tonight's absolute worst.
All right. So once again, this is an example of how elections have consequences. Read this article here from marketwatch.com. This is from February 16th, 2021. Majority of jobless Americans choose going back to work over receiving the extra $600 unemployment benefit. This is when it was $600. Majority of jobless Americans choose going back to work over receiving the extra $600 unemployment benefit. New research by the J.P. Morgan Chase Institute suggests that supplemental unemployment benefits did not discourage people returning to work. This is February 16, 2021. When jobless Americans began receiving the extra $600 a week in unemployment benefits in April, critics of the program held that April of 2020, critics of the program held that it would discourage people from returning to work because 2/3 of recipients received more money from their jobless benefits than they did from their jobs. Once again, isn't that an indication that you need to raise the federal minimum wage if people are getting more from unemployment insurance than they are from actually working? Isn't that an indication that you need to raise, that you need to pay a living wage? But in reality, more than half of the jobless workers who received enhanced benefits from the CARES Act returned to work before the benefits expired at the end of July. Okay? In reality, in the real world, Governor Brian Kemp, more than half of the jobless workers who received these enhanced benefits under the American CARES Act returned to work before the benefits expired at the end of July, according to research published Thursday back in February 2021 by the J.P. Morgan Chase Institute. This finding is based on an analysis of more than 44 million households with a J.P. Morgan Chase checking account from January 2019 through November 2020. The researchers also found that after the $600 a week enhanced benefit expired in July of 2020, the rate of jobless Americans returning to work did not increase significantly. Okay, the researchers also found that after the $600 a week enhanced benefit expired in July 2020, the rate of jobless Americans returning to work did not increase significantly. And 3 weeks after the supplemental benefit expired, the rate of people on unemployment returned to July levels. However, without the extra $600 a week benefit, Americans drew out half of the savings they built up when the $600 was in effect prior to JP Morgan Chase Institute prior. Okay. However, without the extra $600 a week benefit, Americans drew out half of the savings they built up when the $600 was in effect. Prior JP Morgan Chase Institute research found. At that time, households experiencing unemployment also increased spending relative to employed households. Okay, read the rest of this article here from marketwatch.com. A majority of jobless Americans chose going back to work over receiving extra $600 unemployment benefit. This is from February 16th, 2021. Then also look at the article here from the 19th. This is from, what date is this? May 7th, 2021. May 7th, 2021. From 19thnews.org, 19thnews.org. This deals with 2 million women still being unemployed. A year from the start of the women's recession, 2 million women are still out of work. A year from the start of the women's recession, so the coronavirus pandemic, 2 million women are still out of work. About 165,000 women left the workforce in April 2021. As the economic recovery sputters, unemployment rates continue to be higher for women of color. Read this article also. All right. Let's see. And then we know that it was announced. I'm going to try to pull this article up quickly here. Then we'll talk very quickly about Oliver Lewis. May 17th, 1875, Oliver Lewis, 19-year-old African-American man, won the first Kentucky Derby. He won the first Kentucky Derby. We know that the announcement was made that the child tax credit is going to start hitting people's bank accounts in July. It's about July 15th. And this is going to cut childhood poverty in half. This is going to cut childhood poverty in half. Now, once again, this is an example of how elections have consequences. Also, this is going to be greatly beneficial to African Americans. This is part of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. And not a single Republican in the House of Representatives or in the U.S. Senate voted for this American Rescue Plan. Okay, I want to pull up, let's see, we have that article here from NBC News. Okay, I'll find that one. But lastly, let's go to this last story here, dealing with the Kentucky Derby and Oliver Lewis. So we're in the Kentucky Derby season right now. Well, I should say we're in the Triple Crown season right now. And we know that the Kentucky Derby was ran a few weeks ago, and Medina Spirit won the Kentucky Derby. Now we know there's controversy over that win, and Medina Spirit failed a drug test after the race. And like I said before, Medina Spirit should never be confused with Funky Cold Medina, which will lift your spirit. Some people can say Funky Cold Medina is a drug, but the first Kentucky Derby was won by an African American man named Oliver Lewis back in May 17th, 1875. May 17th, 1875. African American jockeys used to dominate horse racing. In the first Kentucky Derby, 13 of the 15 jockeys were African American. And our dominance in horse racing also goes back to slavery. There's a good article from WAVE Channel 3 out of Louisville, Kentucky. WAEV Channel 3 out of Louisville, Kentucky. Black Jockeys and the Kentucky Derby, a history of race and racism. Black Jockeys and the Kentucky Derby, a history of race and racism. Now, I've done an entire lecture dealing with the history of African American jockeys in horse racing. That lecture is available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, when black men dominated horse racing. When black men dominated horse racing. And it's also in the 6 DVD bundle pack or 6 digital download bundle pack called Black Migration 1619 to 2019. Black Migration 1619 to 2019. But if we look very quickly here at information dealing with African American jockeys. So people may ask the question, well, why African American jockeys? Why they dominate horse racing, right? So African American jockeys' dominance in the world of horse racing dates back to slavery. And in the world of African American jockeys' dominance in the world of racing is a history nearly forgotten today. Their participation dates back to colonial times when the British brought their love of horse racing to the New World. Founding fathers like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson frequented the racetracks. And when President Andrew Jackson moved into the White House in 1829, he brought along his best thoroughbreds and his black jockeys. Because racing was tremendously popular in the South, it is not surprising that the first black jockeys were slaves. And if you could make your slave owner money through racing or boxing or cockfighting like Chicken George and Roots, right? You can have privileges. You can also have the opportunity to earn money as well. We saw Chicken George was able to buy his freedom from money he won with raising the roosters and cockfighting, things like this. All right. So here's Oliver Lewis. Oliver Lewis was 19 years old when he first won the Kentucky Derby. The Kentucky Derby is the first race of the Triple Crown. The Triple Crown consists of 3 races: the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, the Preakness just ran, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes. Okay. So the odds were good that a African American jockey would win the prestigious contest, the first Kentucky Derby in 1875, when Oliver Lewis became the first winner of the Kentucky Derby. Oliver Lewis won the very first Kentucky Derby aboard a horse named Aristides. In addition to this famous first, Oliver Lewis became an analyzer of racing data. His work became very influential in the forming of modern race charts. You can read more information at derbymuseum.org, derbymuseum.org. Okay. So this is Oliver Lewis. I want to go to this clip here from WAVE Channel 3 out of WAVE Channel 3 out of Kentucky. Let's go to this story here. This deals with black jockeys and the Kentucky Derby.
The power.
All right, we'll cue that up and get that going. So Churchill Downs, history is filled with the sound of horses galloping around the track during the Kentucky Derby. The black jockeys that once rode those horses and dominated the sport of horse racing have faded into the pages of history. And if we look at some more information here in the lecture that I did, when the first Kentucky Derby ran May 17th, 1875, 13 of the 15 jockeys, 13 of the 15 jockeys were African American, and African Americans were among the first 28 Derby winners. I'm sorry, among the first 28 Derby winners, 15 were African American. Among the first 28 Kentucky Derby winners, 15 were African American. African American jockeys excelled in the sport in the late 1800s, but by 1921, they had disappeared from the Kentucky Derby racetrack and would not return until Marlon St. Julian rode in the Kentucky Derby in the year 2000. All right, I want to go to this clip here from WAVE Channel 3.
Kentucky Derby station will be bringing a live coverage from the track starting Friday. Is your Kentucky Derby station will be bringing a live coverage from the track starting Friday right here on Wave 3 News, as well as Saturday. We know we don't have spectators, but there's going to be lots of action still, and we will bringing that all to you. Well, we often don't hear their names, but black jockeys have played a significant role in horse racing that often know little to nothing about. And Wave 3 News reporter Tawana Andrew takes a look into how black jockeys were dealing with racism and segregation at and beyond the track while trying to make it in the industry.
Churchill Downs' history is filled with the sounds of horses galloping around the track during the Kentucky Derby. The black jockeys who once rode these horses and dominated the sport have faded into the pages of history. On May 17, 1875, just 10 years after the Civil War ended, 15 jockeys raced in the inaugural Kentucky Derby. 13 were black men.
Winning jockey aboard Aristides, Oliver Lewis, was also an African American. 15 of the first 28 runnings of the Derby, African American jockeys won races.
American slavery led to generations of black men growing up around horses and horse racing.
Training horses, caring for the horses, they were riding the horses. So all that kind of flows together as to how the African American connection to those horses and what would be the United States of America actually started.
Decades after Abraham Lincoln emancipated slaves across the country, black people still dominated the sport.
Isaac Murphy, he's regarded by many in the industry as the greatest jockey that ever lived. He's jockeyed to win the Kentucky Derby on 3 occasions. He was the very first jockey inducted into National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame.
That all began to change as racism and segregation came further into the forefront of American society.
As racing maybe becomes more codified, more of a business, there was some intentional methods on behalf of those in charge of racing to not license African American jockeys or give fewer jockeys licenses to African American jockeys.
Eventually, things became physical.
Probably late 19th century, early 20th century, Jimmy Winkfield, most recent African American jockey to win the Kentucky Derby, was riding in Harlem Race Course outside of Chicago. And his white counterparts really tried to run him and his horse up against the rail, what they'll kind of call rough riding.
By 1904, black riders were banned from many racetracks across the country, including Churchill Downs.
He actually left the country in the early 1900s due to a lot of the Jim Crow and segregation that we discussed. He had a prominent career in Russia.
Jimmy Winkfield was one of the last black jockeys to ride in the Derby. In fact, he won back-to-back Kentucky Derby runs in 1901 and 1902. From 1921 to 2000, there were no African-American riders in the Kentucky Derby. Marlon St. Julian became the first black jockey to ride in the Kentucky Derby in 79 years. Kevin Krieger made a run for the roses in 2013. While Black jockeys are no longer a mainstay, Black Americans are still making an impact on the sport of horse racing.
These are the silks of Oaktown Stable. Oaktown Stable was owned by the Burrell family, one of whom was Stanley Burrell, better known to us in Gen X as MC Hammer.
The Kentucky Derby Museum hopes that learning about this part of history may spark a light in our next generation of jockeys. At the Kentucky Derby Museum in Louisville, Tawana Andrew, Wave 3 News.
Well, recovering Louisiana is going to.
All right. So that's from AVE Channel 3 in Louisville, Kentucky. Check out the article here entitled Black Jockeys and the Kentucky Derby. Black Jockeys and the Kentucky Derby, A History of Race and Racism, from WAVE Channel 3. This is from September 3rd, 2020. September 3rd, 2020. Okay. All right. And we'll post this link here also. And then the lecture that I've done, when Black Men Dominated Horse Racing, that's at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have it, you can get it individually, but it's also in a DVD bundle pack. Black Migration 1619-2019 DVD bundle pack, and that's right on the homepage of our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay. Yeah, and May 19th is Malcolm X's birthday. Also, so happy birthday, Malcolm X. But when you scroll down the homepage of our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, you see the information for the online course I teach on Saturdays, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, where they didn't teach you in school. When you scroll down, we have my 15 DVD bundle pack, the Black History Michael Imhotep Black History Month 15 DVD bundle pack, which has 15 of my lectures. But below that, we have the Black Migration 1619 to 2019 bundle, and the one, when Black Men Dominated Horse Racing, is part of that 6 DVD bundle pack. So we have it in DVD format and digital download format at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. That bundle is on sale. I think it's $50. All right. Look, we have to get out of here. Hey, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Be sure to register for my online course. I teach on Saturdays as well. And we're here 6 days a week, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Times, and Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this helps us keep doing the research, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. We have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace.